They said she was just ground crew. To most people at the base, she blended into the background, checking fuel lines, inspecting tires, running last-minute safety checks. Her name wasn't printed on any call sign. She didn't wear the pilot's helmet. She wasn't the one taking off into the skies. But for those who worked alongside her, there was something about her calm focus, her sharp eye, and the way she carried herself that hinted at a story nobody really knew. She was more than just a mechanic with grease on her hands. That morning started like any other. The squadron was preparing for an urgent mission, and the pilots were tightening their gear. Engines roared, radios buzzed, tension ran through the air. Every second mattered. She moved quietly along the runway, double-checking one jet after another, her touch precise, almost instinctive. Most people didn't notice her except the pilots. They trusted her in a way that went beyond checklists. If she said a plane was ready, it was ready. If she paused, they listened. Still, outside that circle, she was seen as just ground crew, someone replaceable. But then, something unexpected happened. Just as the squadron was about to launch, one of the pilots noticed her stepping back from a jet, her eyes fixed on a detail no one else had spotted. She didn't say much. Just a short warning, but her voice carried weight. The entire operation seemed to hang in the balance. And that's when the lead pilot looked straight at the command tower and said words no one had ever heard before. "We're not flying without her." In that moment, the base fell silent. Who was she really? Why would a decorated pilot refuse to take off without a crew member who wasn't even supposed to be in the spotlight? What secret did she carry hidden beneath the surface of her quiet duty? The answers would change everything. And soon, the world would discover that sometimes the person everyone overlooks is the one holding the sky together. She didn't react to the pilot's words. Instead, she kept her eyes on the jet, wiping her hands on a rag as if the world hadn't just shifted around her. The crew on the ground exchanged puzzled looks. Commanders whispered in low voices, wondering why a mission that had been months in planning was suddenly put on hold because of someone who wasn't even on the roster. But the pilots stood firm, watching her with the kind of respect that wasn't written into any rulebook. Her name was Ava, though most people barely remembered it. To them, she was simply tech or crew. She had been stationed at the base for years, arriving quietly, never boasting about her past, never asking for recognition. Yet the way she worked told a different story. She moved like someone who had been around aircraft her whole life. She could hear an engine and know if something was even slightly off. She could spot a weakness in the metal long before a machine failed. It was as though she had a second sense for the sky itself. Rumors had followed her for a while, whispered in mess halls and barracks. Some said she had once trained as a pilot but walked away. Others believed she had been involved in missions that were never officially recorded, stories buried in classified files. No one dared ask her directly, and she never confirmed or denied anything. She stayed in the shadows, fixing planes, saving lives in silence. But now, in front of everyone, the truth pressed closer. Why would a pilot with medals on his chest refuse to fly without her? What did he know that others didn't? And more importantly, what role was she about to play in a mission that could not wait? The answers were still hidden, but one thing was certain: Neva was not just ground crew. The command tower didn't like delays, especially not on a day like this. Orders had been sent, and the jets were supposed to be in the air already. Yet, there they were, waiting on one woman who wasn't even listed in the mission briefing. The senior officer's voice cracked over the radio, demanding an explanation. But the lead pilot only repeated his words, firmer this time: "We're not flying without her." His tone left no room for argument. Ava kept her head down, pretending not to hear, though inside she could feel the weight of every eye on her. She hadn't asked for this. For years, she had chosen to stay unseen, letting her work speak for her. Pilots came and went, Missions succeeded and failed. But she remained in the hangar, keeping the aircraft alive with her quiet touch. She knew she was good at what she did, maybe better than most, but she never wanted the spotlight. Still, the moment had found her, whether she wanted it or not. Those who had paid attention over the years remembered strange moments. Times when Ava had corrected senior engineers on things they had overlooked. Times when she had walked straight up to a pilot about to take off and told him to stop seconds before a system failure would have put him in danger. And there was that one night, during a storm, when she stayed on the runway long after everyone else had cleared, guiding a struggling aircraft safely down. She never spoke of it afterward, but the pilot never forgot. Now whispers spread quickly across the base. Who was she really? Why did the squadron trust her more than the manuals? More than the command tower itself? The air was thick with questions, but none dared voice them aloud. Ava's past was still locked away, and whatever it held was powerful enough to halt a mission. And soon the truth was going to surface. Engines thundered across the runway, vibrating the ground beneath their boots, but none of the jets moved forward. The pilots waited, helmets in hand, eyes locked on Ava as if the decision was hers to make. The command tower was restless, voices overlapping on the radio, demanding answers. Every second lost put the mission at greater risk, yet no one dared to launch without her. It was as if the entire squadron had drawn an invisible line: no Ava, no flight. Ava felt her chest tighten. She had lived years trying to bury the past, pushing away memories of another uniform, another call sign, another life. And yet here it was, clawing its way back into the light. She glanced toward the lead pilot, the one who had spoken out, and, for the briefest moment, their eyes met. There was something unspoken between them, a history only they seemed to understand. But she turned away, gripping her rag so tightly it nearly tore in her hands. The ground crew shifted uncomfortably, unsure if they should keep working or stand down. A low murmur passed among them, questions nobody dared say too loudly. Why was a woman with no official rank suddenly the deciding factor in whether a mission lived or died? What did the lead pilot know that the rest of them didn't? The radio crackled again, sharper this time. If we don't launch now, the mission is compromised. The words cut through the air, heavy with urgency. Ava stood frozen, every part of her telling her to stay quiet, to let them go without her. But another part, the one she had tried so hard to silence, knew the truth. Without her, something would go wrong. Terribly wrong. The roar of the engines grew louder, the jets trembling on the runway, waiting for a signal. And in that suspended moment, the choice was no longer about her past. It was about what was coming next. Everyone knew it. Something big was about to break. Just as the tension reached its peak, a sudden alarm blared across the base. The steady rhythm of the engines was drowned out by the sharp, urgent wail that signaled one thing: an incoming threat. Radar had picked up unidentified aircraft moving fast toward their airspace. The mission, once focused on a distant objective, had instantly become a fight for survival. The squadron no longer had the luxury of debate. They had to act now. But instead of rushing into the sky, the pilots stayed grounded, still looking toward Ava. The twist no one expected was that the threat wasn't miles away, it was closing in, and time was running out. The command tower barked orders, voices rising with frustration and fear. All aircraft prepare for immediate launch, yet not a single jet moved forward. The pilots knew what the commanders didn't. Ava wasn't just some extra pair of hands on the runway. Without her, they were flying blind. Ava's pulse quickened. The alarms, the shouting, the urgency, all of it pulled her back to another time, another mission that had gone wrong. She had sworn she would never step into that role again, never carry that weight. But fate had a way of dragging her back to the skies, even when she fought against it. She glanced at the lead pilot again, and this time he gave the smallest nod, like he was reminding her that the past wasn't a burden. It was proof of why she mattered. The ground shook as another wave of sirens echoed across the base. Unidentified aircraft were closing in faster than predicted. The command tower demanded takeoff, but the squadron stood still, defiant. And Ava realized, in that moment, that the secret she had tried so hard to bury was about to be forced into the open. The skies were calling her again, and this time there was no hiding. The real battle was just beginning. The alarms screamed louder, and the base shook as the unidentified aircraft entered visual range. Dust kicked up along the runway as the jets revved, ready to launch. But still waiting on Ava. She felt every second slipping away, the weight of choice pressing down on her. For years, she had convinced herself she was only ground crew, nothing more. But now, with the sky about to fall, she couldn't run from the truth. She dropped the rag from her hands and stepped forward. "Open the canopy," she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. The lead pilot didn't hesitate. The jet's canopy slid back with a hiss. The rest of the squadron looked stunned as Ava climbed into the cockpit, her movements practiced and natural as TH.